I've been here since the day one of Holy Smoke opened, because here is the place of my father-in-law. Then I hang out with Chad, Mark, and everybody here, so I like it to work with them. With a short time, but I like the friendship of there, and I want to help them. Because here we are all like family. We do like gathering together. My son's birthday, we were all together. The Christmas night, we were all together. These things, I feel like family here. Chad treated us like a family, not like employees. So he was every time by my side, even when I have some difficult times before working here. So I just want to help him.
My name is Flashy. I work right here at Holy Smokes. I've been working here for about 3 or 4 months now. I love the place, I love him, I love Hollie. They do a pretty good job at what they're doing. So, and all of it, not just the barbecue, but all of it, the gatherings, their work here, it's perfect. There are some times when we've been through hell all day, and then it's 10 p.m. at night, and we just sit there, we have a fire going, we bond. In a way, I see him as a parenting figure. I can say that, yeah. I'd love to get the experience, learning the barbecue way, but also I love the relationship that we are building. So that's one thing I want to keep going forever. Even if he one day decides to head back and in the States, still want to keep in touch.
Who's ready for lunch? I'm not sure we're going to be having brisket for lunch, but...
When I was passing these out, Frank thought it was a menu for Holy Smokes.
Almost 7 years ago, our family landed in Shqipëria, otherwise known to Americans as Albania. We landed in a crazy time for Albania and for the whole world. Right after we landed, Albania experienced 2 major earthquakes that resulted in 1,300 aftershocks that shut the country down, condemned buildings and people in need. And then a couple of months after that, we decided to add to the fun, and COVID hit the world. And so circumstances made our engagement into our new country particularly challenging, because it turns out it's really hard to make new relationships when you can't leave your house, when the government says you can't go outside of your house for 3 months.
Yeah, so during this time, we built a large smoker in our yard. Well, we weren't exactly sure why. Like, it was a smoker big enough.
What else are you gonna do, you know?
Big enough to smoke 50 whole chickens at one time. And for some reason, we felt a sense of urgency. And again, that was like, why is this sense of urgency? But COVID was there. And so even though we were new in Albania, we were getting to know other missionary teams from other organizations. And so we were able to provide food for the people they were serving.
Mm-hmm. So we, that was part of our listening and learning. We really wanted to know, what is God already doing? What are the workers, other workers in this area already doing? And so that was one of the ways that we could help with supporting other ministries. So we couldn't drive. That was one of the restrictions. So here, Chad and I going around town with a wheelbarrow, gathering the things. We could only be out for 30 minutes at a time at that point. So we were putting chickens and apples and things with a wheelbarrow around our neighborhood so that we could gather the food that was needed, so that we could support other ministries. After this time, we just continued to pray and listen and prayed from the Psalms, Lord, establish the work of our hands. Would you establish that work? We don't want to just jump in and do what's not needed or what we think we should do. And we prayed, Lord, we pray your kingdom come and your will would be done here in Albania. But what does that specifically look like here in Albania with our friends and neighbors? And so during the first few years of language and cultural learning, we continued to posture ourselves as humble learners, one of the values of TMS, and listen to our friends and neighbors. And what continually came up was interest in all things United States of America and American, and interest in the food that Chad was cooking, and how we as Americans eat all the fun things. And so, but one of the reasons that there was this interest in America is because many Albanians have sons and daughters that live in the U.S., so they're deeply interested in our lives because that helps them to understand what their family, what their own sons and daughters' lives are like in the U.S. So, although you would not find this in any missiology books, because you're told not to take your culture to the country of service, through the Holy Spirit, He showed us that this would allow for connection and conversation, and that this could actually be a door into the atheist and Muslim community that we were working in. And also, due to their communist history, where neighbors would spy on each other, going into someone's home is not a common thing. And outsiders, they are very hospitable, but it's also, you're sort of treated with suspicion with a side eye, like, what are you doing here? What's going on? So gathering in cafes and public spaces is where people meet.
Yeah, so this is where Holy Smokes, a gathering place, was born. We decided to open an American barbecue restaurant with the hopes that this would be a place where where friends and neighbors of this community would gather and just begin to start to feel, even though they don't know what it is, but begin to start to feel the love and peace of Jesus.
Mm-hmm. So it's hard. We've been there 7 years, so it's like there's so many stories, there's so many things. But to share with you, so we decided the faces that you saw in that video to tell you a little bit about each one of those. So you saw Althea, the little girl running through, running all around outside. We began building a relationship with her family several years ago, and now her sister, Althea is 4, and her sister's bus stop is right in front of Holy Smokes. So every afternoon, her dad, who's also a business owner in the center of town, they come and wait for her sister Victoria. But every day that we're open, Althea, I'll hear around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll hear Hollie. And so I'll come running out and she'll go, can we play? And I'm like, yes, we can play. And that means hide and seek for the next 30, 45 minutes, in which I always have to hide first. And she seeks, and then she hides exactly where I just hid. And so we do this for 30 or 45 minutes. And every time her dad says, Hollie, thank you. Thank you for stopping your work and playing with my daughters. She also has a sister named Victoria, who has told her her mom and dad that she has lots of questions about Jesus. This came up after we invited people to our Thanksgiving meal, and shared with them that yes, Thanksgiving is an American holiday because they've seen movies and they've like all the food, and so we're like, this is sort of what it's like. And if you were in America, we would invite you to our home, but Holy Smokes is sort of our home here, so we're inviting you in. And we told how for us Thanksgiving is much deeper than food and friends, but we're thankful for our Savior Jesus. So after that, she told her parents she has so many questions about Jesus, and she said, her parents Dorian and Melina, they said, you know what? Chad and Hollie can answer all your questions that you have about Jesus. And so they told us that. And then we got the highest honor of an invitation in their home, which is not common. And so we were so honored. And we went and we had a meal. And then they said, okay, Victoria, time to answer, time for you to ask Hollie and Chad and all the questions you have about Jesus. So her first one was like, he came back from the dead. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, how? And then she'd be like, how did that happen? And we would talk, but how did that happen? And so we talked. And then the next part is she had heard a story. And I'm going to tell you this not for shock value, but this is real on working with people who do not have a foundation to build on. But she said, I heard this story about Jesus and a traitor. And I'm like, yeah, tell me more. What do you know? So she's walking through it, and then she said, oh, and then there comes this part, again, not for shock value, but just the real story here. She says, yeah, so then Jesus looks at him and says, shut the hell up. And we were like, okay, well. So we had some discussions, and I said, Victoria, who is 7, I said, how would you, what if I got you a Bible? There's a Jesus Storybook Bible that my girls and we read all the time when they were little, and they loved it. It's fun, beautiful pictures. And she said, yeah, but I want it in my language. I was like, absolutely, we will find it in your language. I had no idea if they printed the Jesus Storybook Bible in Albanian, but I found it. And I said, you can get that, and we can read through these stories, and you can hear the real stories of Jesus, and you can ask us anything you want. So Chad gave her a challenge. We gave it to her. She was so excited. She's going right through it, and she was like, I've heard this story about this really big giant. And she's getting all this of random videos she's found on YouTube. And so she was so excited because in the Jesus Storybook Bible, Goliath is, you're reading through the pages, and Goliath, you have to turn it when it comes, and he takes up the whole pages. So she was like, oh, wow. So we have gotten to know their family and have started conversations. And now her mom is reading that Jesus Storybook Bible to her every night. So it's not just Victoria, it's for Althea, it's for Dorian, it's for Melina. Their whole family are hearing the stories of Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm glad we saw the video. I got over there, and I'm an emotional guy. I started seeing these people, I got a little emotional. So I think I got that out then. But Franklin, he was the first gentleman you saw. He is our landlord's son-in-law. And in December a year ago, one night after work, we had an amazing evening, kind of an impromptu. We finished work. He wanted to do something for his father, who is a very devout Muslim guy. And so we lit up the grill, and we had an amazing time with Franklin and his dad. And it was just one of those simple yet, kind of important days and nights that we just took the time to have. A week later, we had a gathering to celebrate Christmas. Before the meal, of course, we prayed and invited Jesus into our evening. Franklin was listening. 2 weeks later, Franklin's dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor. As Franklin told me, he looked at me and he asked, will you do that prayer thing? So we prayed, and over the next weeks, we would continue to pray. However, in very short time, his dad lost his battle to cancer. That one night of being intentional to fire up the grill and simply say a blessing at the Christmas gathering opened the door to friendship and a place at Franklin's dad's funeral. This last year has been pretty hard for him, and he also lost his job. So we have had the opportunity. We haven't had the funds to fully hire him on full-time, but we've been able to hire him part-time. And even though it's been a hard year, we go hoping to be a light and joy to them. Franklin just lights up our place. It's such a joy to have him. And I've lost my place here.
Vlashi.
So moving on to Vlashi. Vlashi, he's a young, super energetic, just a great guy. He loves cooking. I'm learning from him. He and his girlfriend have been coming to Holy Smokes for about a year and a half. And when they would come in, he and I would talk of food stuff. And sometime last fall, we interviewed him. He was working for a really high-end, super fast-paced restaurant, but he was curious about Holy Smokes, and so we interviewed him, and we did all the things. And the next day, he said, Chad, I think I'm going to stay with Artigiano. And we were like, that's amazing. We want to support you, but we still want you to come. Y'all be friends, come to the restaurant. And a couple of days later, he and Anastasia, sorry. They came and they sat off in the corner, but they could see into the kitchen. And they were there for like an hour and a half. And we would check on them. We brought them food and talked to them a little bit. But after about an hour and a half, I said, are you okay? And he just, this will get me again. He said, I've just been watching y'all. I've been watching you in the kitchen, the whole team. And I've been watching you interacting with the customers. He goes, I want to be a part of that. And we have already told him, that Holy Smokes is there, but it is, it's the restaurant, but while we're there, that we're wanting to connect with the community. And he said, well, that's okay. I'm practicing to become an atheist. I didn't know you practiced that. But anyway, he's been amazing, and we're enjoying this relationship.
He says things that are kingdom language. Like, I was working in one day, he was like, Hollie, you are breaking chains. And I'm like, what is coming out of your mouth? He is not a Christian. Or we were talking, somebody said the word flourish, and he was like, flourish? That is when there is nothing, and nothing goes to something. And thriving, you go from something to just something, absolutely, every realm is thriving. And I'm like, you are speaking kingdom language, Washi, and you do not even know. You're just soaked in it, in the environment. So.
Right here. You're right here.
Yeah. So we're seeing kingdom language from the people who come into the restaurant. We're not a normal church plant or a mercy project. We're doing something different that has people coming to us that would never go to a church, and they come with their defenses down as they're eating good food. And when we see them and we remember their names and ask about their jobs or their school. And that leads to relationships that lead to conversations about our love of and faith in Jesus. One of my Albanian friends, Marietta, said, Hollie, Albanians will not be one with knowledge, with philosophy, or the 4 spiritual laws. Albanians will be one with your lives.
Right.
They will be one with creativity, with integrity in the marketplace. She was like, we are practical people. What does it mean in my everyday life? What does the gospel mean? So, what does the kingdom coming to Albanians look like? It looks like joy, peace, hope, love, and belonging. And this is what our friends are telling us they are experiencing at Holy Smokes. And so we are celebrating, as we see this video, the long, long years that have gone into seeing the just barely budding fruit that we are now seeing. We've been there 7 years. They are not believers, but they are more and more speaking kingdom language and leaning in and asking questions. So praise God for that. However, so on your tables, we have some pictures of our friends and then also some of the things that they have said as they are visiting. And some of our friends, they are saying, when you're here, there is joy and happiness in our neighborhood. And when you're closed, it's just not here. So many people, like, there's something about when we cross he said specifically, when I cross the threshold into Holy Smokes, peace floods me. It's a bit of a respite. Another said, every day I come here for lunch. I come here to get peace before I go back out into the chaos of my world. They are speaking these things that we feel like, the Lord's like, it's about joy, it's about hope, it's about love, and it's about belonging. And so they are beginning to say these things, and we're so thankful. But these are the really fun things to get to share with you, these stories of the people that we know and love, and how each one of these people would not have come in contact with other believers who are following Jesus in that neighborhood. But these are the fun things. At the same time that we have been working and discerning the other stories that are going into the background are that pioneering work is hard. We're not following a map. We've never started a business in a foreign country. Serving spiritually in spiritually dark places is hard. There's twists and turns that are hard to navigate. It's not linear. And discouragement sets in super easy if we let it, because we serve among a place that is very hopeless. So, in dealing with environments and governments that are confusing and not set up like what we're used to, feeling like you're in constant chaos, our family has experienced medical emergencies, high stress due to the environment. We've lived through experiencing natural disasters, those two major earthquakes. There's nothing like waking up at 3 a.m. to your entire house shaking and sounding like a train is coming through, and what in the world? And then after that, 1,300 aftershocks that all feel like, is this another one coming? But these things affected us and our community deeply. We've had extended family issues, team issues, all these things arise for every single cross-cultural worker in different ways. But TMS has been with us through all of it. We have seen so many workers come to the field with no organization or support or training. And I'll tell you, they do not last long. And it's heartbreaking, all of the money, all the resources that it took to get them there. And then they don't last long because they do not have the support that they need. But for us, TMS has offered support in various ways in different seasons for our family. A debrief session before we were even part of TMS, when we were serving somewhere else in a stressful situation and had to leave quickly. And so it was really confusing and hard, especially for our girls. They provided free of charge a debrief session so that we could be ready for our next assignment in Albania. Through the Mackling training that gave not only us but our children excellent training and tools for the CCW life. The TCK care that our girls received, and you'll see our middle daughter Abigail in a video shortly, but the support, encouragement, and community and prayer that they have received from our staff that did not stop when they went into college and have needed as their parents are thousands of miles away, and they have been felt so supported by them. The global gatherings that we have, where the Lord has used it in very specific ways for our family every single time, and we leave encouraged and refreshed for the work ahead. For me, in particularly, I have received leadership training for my role as team leader, because it's very, very different than any other leading that I have done in other contexts. And then also the strategic consultant, the new position that I've been working with someone that's helped me navigate very unique waters, and has been a place of encouragement and brainstorming from someone who has experience in some of the main areas. So there is so much that goes into our story of working in Albania. We have our own personal supporters that allow us and enable us to be on the ground, but we also have TMS that's helped us be able to remain there. And so we want to personally thank those of you who give to the Global Mission Fund. Now, I'm going to cry. It has directly impacted our family and our ability to live and minister and remain healthy and get over the bumps of these unexpected seasons and stressors. You've helped us be able to stay and continue on our work of the nonlinear, complex, long haul, partnering with the Lord and what He's doing in Albania. and to see our friends and their communities transformed by the love of Jesus. So thank you for your generosity.
And because of your generosity and you guys coming here, making the effort, we have a little token, a little gift that'll be right outside the door. And selfishly, we in Albania, we need prayer. TMS needs prayer. So as you use a little of Holy Smokes barbecue sauce, you can think to pray for TMS and the folks in Albania. So there's bottles out there, 1 bottle per family unit. Thank you. Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Mhm.